Horror Fanatic here again, and let's talk about a book. This month, I'm going to talk about Brother Odd by Dean Koontz, the third in the Odd Thomas series, and regrettably to say, my least favorite so far. Let's get into it. Brother Odd picks up a measure of time after his last adventures in Pico Mundo, and he's at a change of pace, having at the end of the last book chosen to go live in seclusion with monks. This is in, I believe they said it was the High Sierra Nevada. He gets to see snow for the first time, which I really like his reaction to snow. But there's a lot about this book I didn't like compared that I did. Let's just get that out of the way. He's been living with the monks at St. Bartholomew's Abbey, and it's him living in seclusion. Though things change one night when he sees a Bodok. He's been living in the Abbey with a level of looseness, basically, as a key to everything, and the lead nun and the head abbot both know of his gift and having been vouched for by both his priest and by the police sheriff of Picamundo. And he's trying to also help one of the brothers who have committed suicide to move on that still haunts the Abbey, ringing the bells. I liked that too. But he then, on the way back out after trying to find where the Bodok went, he trips over an unconscious monk in the snow and gets attacked. And this quickly escalates into more Bodoks appearing, along with him spying other apparitions. I don't like the cast as much this time around. In fact, there's only one character I really latched onto in this book, and that was Brother Knuckles. I think his real name was Brother Salvatore, but I really liked that character. I liked his history, I liked his mannerisms, I liked how he was described. He was just the best supporting character in this book. Shortly after that was Sister Miriam. Again, I liked how she was described, her mannerisms. I loved she had a tattoo on her inner lip from her times before being a nun. And it felt like those two definitely had history, like they weren't always men and women of the cloth, and I really liked that. The same can't be said for some of the other characters, like Sister Angela, kept being described as stern, never felt like it, and I really disliked Brother John's character. Yeah, Elvis was weak in this book for me too, and I loved Elvis in the last two books. In this one, he's good, and it might be tied with the fact that, spoiler, you see him go in this one. He gets to pass on, and I did like that. I did like him finally moving on. And I did like the addition of the dog Boo, Odd Thomas's now dog, though the revelation at the end that Boo's a ghost, that's supposed to be a big twist. So I'm not going to say spoiler, because if you didn't see that coming, that's on you. No one else besides Odd interacts with Boo, and Boo just comes and disappears at will, out of nowhere. So yeah, you can figure out he's a ghost pretty quickly. Now, as for St. Bartholomew's Abbey as the dread location for the novel, had the threat in the book been actually supernatural and not science fiction, which I feel Odd Thomas this time around was more of a sci-fi novel than a horror, as threats presented are ones made of science, and even then, loose science that's not even real science, and heavy on the fiction. Although, they all are. Honestly, it's about a guy who sees ghosts. But about those ghosts, something else, Thomas, I understand that you love Stormy. As a reader, I get that. And, though, I only knew her for one book, man. I want to read more of you, but I'm afraid it's just going to be you whining more and more about her and, how you'll see her in the next life. Wouldn't Stormy want you to move on at some point, man? It's been over a year, and you're still right in the thick of it. Anyway, I also liked a couple, I liked that the Abbey, going back to the dread location, was part Abbey, part school for disabled and, mentally retarded children. And I really liked that. The kids were all humanized, and I was able to feel for them, and I really enjoyed that. I really liked Jacob's character most of all. I like how he spoke in circles, and clearly, once you got to figure out how he was saying things, he wasn't that much of an enigma. I liked that he was given redeeming values. I liked that he had history as well, and he felt like a complete character to me, and I really enjoyed him as well. I also liked the little girl who could play with dogs, but that was just because I have a soft spot for dogs. But like, there wasn't really many others, so like the threats for the children, while being the main focal point of the dread in this novel, I didn't really relate to them enough or develop an emotional connection with those side characters enough to actually feel any sort of threat for them. Another character that I liked right up until the end was Romanovich, the Russian. I liked him as just a Russian librarian who was just possibly over his head. The revelation at the end... Actually, no, I'm not going to spoil that for you. That would be rude. Read the book yourself if you want to see why I dislike his character towards the end of the book. It's just that his character takes a complete, 180. Not even a 180. He doesn't go back to where he started. Man, he just veers off course. And it's sad. But, I did like the descriptions in this book, mostly of the scenery, the snow, the cold, Thomas describing himself as of the desert, and this being very alien to him. I liked that. I did like Ozzy's brief cameo at the end. He's built up over the books into being a solid side character that feels like a complete person that cares for Thomas and understands him in a way that others don't, and views him as a son as much as Thomas views him as the father he never had. And I really love their relationship, and I hope further novels will explore that more. Though, with how little he was in this book, I have a hard time seeing it coming, though there is a number left in this series. The threat he faces, the uber skeletons, the death figure, they're neat and all. They don't twinge of the supernatural, and it felt very alien in the book, and it didn't feel like it fitted within the world itself, and that Dean Koontz was really trying to stretch my suspension of disbelief to a point where I just couldn't anymore. He built such a strong, heavy amount of supernatural otherworldliness in the other two books that the white science, the fake white science he presents in this novel is just out of place and feels off kilter from the rest of the novels to date. The other two, at least. I haven't read the other ones yet, though. Probably going to get to them being a completionist. But yeah, it's basically my opinion. It's the worst of the Thomas books I've read. I would probably reread the first and second Thomases given the chance looking back at them. And yeah, I know I have the chance there right behind me, but not anytime soon. And even if I picked up books again to read them, I don't see myself rereading Brother Odd. Beyond a handful of characters, mainly Knuckles, and Sister Miriam, who is a very small character, it just wasn't as good. And I was actually kind of let down by this novel. So, I would recommend it if you really liked the other two Thomas books. Though, I guess that's the only person who this is really written for, though, because I don't see anyone just jumping in the middle of a series. That said, next month I'm going to read a novelization of a motion picture by Rob Zombie, but at least it has a novelization that gets to be the bonus of being written by the guy who wrote and directed the film. And by his own admission, it's a different beast. And as I have yet to see Lords of Salem, this will be an interesting ride. Yeah, Lords of Salem by Rob Zombie and B.K. Evanson.